Before I actually begin this review and dwell into the actual game of Shadow the Hedgehog, I have to point something out to a few people. Several of you have taken it upon yourselves to point out to me that, oh, Darkness, you're reviewing the wrong version of this game because the GameCube version is like so much better than the PS2 version. Now, I have never owned the GameCube version. I own the PS2 version. However, I have had the courtesy of playing the GameCube version quite a bit. And guess what, people? The GameCube and the PS2 versions, they're the same fucking game! I see no blatant difference in terms of the actual gameplay, the music, the graphics, nothing! They're the same! There's one difference that's been pointed out to me. One single difference that wasn't even on my list of complaints with the game. Then that is, when there's a lot of stuff on the screen, the frame rate lags a bit. It's not even that big a deal, and I actually could ignore that. I have so many more issues with the game, and these issues appear in both the GameCube version and the PS2 version. Just because I don't own the GameCube version doesn't mean I haven't played it, and does not mean that I don't know it's the same piece of shit that it is on the PS2. Granted, I never played the Xbox version, so maybe that's a lot worse. But hey, you people seem to think the GameCube version is so much better. It's not! But let's not dwell into that anymore. Let's move on! Now, to start out this review, I figured we'd go over the opening cutscene first, because there's a lot to discuss in terms of the cutscene. Because it seems to really hype up the game to be more than what it is. I mean, if you look at it, it looks pretty cool at first. I mean, seriously, this does look really awesome, I will admit that, and wait a second. Why is the moon there? Didn't Eggman just... You know what, never mind. I'm not even going to dwell into that. That's just a small technical thing that really should not be there, because Eggman destroyed the moon in Sonic Adventure 2, but whatever. I'm still in a mystery as to why Shadow is riding a motorcycle. It's really odd to me as to why he needs vehicles or weaponry. But, as I said before, the opening cutscene hypes up everything. It just shows you all this stuff that makes the game look like it's going to be so cool. But the problem is, this is a big lie. It's all a lie. It's just like Sonic Next Gen. Granted, this game is better than Sonic Next Gen, but even so. Now, I will say this. The cinematic graphics of this game look absolutely extraordinary. I mean, seriously, look at this cutscene. You can see the individual blades of grass. That's how detailed they were with these cinematics, and I do like the game for this. They spent a lot of time on this, but the problem is they let everything else go to waste. Because once you start the game, you quickly begin to realize that something is very, very wrong. The in-game graphics look like absolute shit. In its purest form. I mean, the textures are bland. Shadow looks shiny for some reason, and just everything about it looks really bad. And let's go into the controls. We've already said the graphics are bad indeed. The controls are horrible, brutal, just absolutely atrocious the way you have to control him. He just feels slippery the entire time. You're skating around like a friggin' lunatic, and you can barely control where he goes. Plus, another problem is whenever you run, he runs at the same speed, no matter whether you're going uphill, downhill. The only time he'll change speed is if A, you stop, or B, you hit a boost pad. Every other time, he's running the same exact speed, and he goes off at like Mach 2 instantly when you press the analog stick forward. There's no speed up time, and this can be very disorienting if you're starting the game out for the first time. I know it was disorienting for me. It's really fucked up. And there are quite a lot of endings. There's quite a bit of replay value if you care at all about the story. And that's why a lot of people play. That's why I was playing it, I can tell you that much. Because I sure as hell wasn't playing it with stupid ass gameplay. It's just so bad with the gameplay. And some of the missions they have you do are absolutely ridiculous. The first level is an example already. This is the first level. Both missions, other than the neutral mission, which is get the chaos. Straightforward. Neutral missions are always just get to the end of the level. Whether it be a chaos emerald there or not. But the good mission with Sonic or the bad mission with Black Doom. With Sonic, you have to kill all the black arms, which are your enemies in the game. Not your enemies. Actually, I take that back, because no matter which side you're on, whether you're helping Sonic, whether you're helping Black Arms, or anyone else for that matter, all the enemies, gun and Black Arms alike, will always attack you for no reason, even if you're helping them. So, there's no point in not destroying all the enemies. In some areas, you have to destroy some enemies, even if you're helping them. The game just doesn't make any sense in terms of choosing your own path, because you're going to end up killing all the enemies anyway. It makes no sense. And as I said, back to the missions. You have to fucking... These first two missions, you have to kill every single enemy. Whether Black Arms for Sonic and the gun soldiers for Black Doom, you have to kill all of them in the game. What the fuck? There is no reason for such a stupid mission, and that's not even the worst. Let's move on to some other retarded mission they have to do. There's a mission with Tails where you have to, get this, you have to collect rings! And the rings! They couldn't come up with anything better than that? Be a bit more creative, Sega! Seriously! I mean, granted, some of the missions are a bit creative, but most of them are either repeated from past levels, or they're just plain retarded. And speaking of levels, some of these levels are so brutal in terms of their design. I can't even begin to describe it. This city level is perhaps the worst level in the game for two main reasons. Reason number one: the missions they have you do. Black Doom wants you to detonate 5 giant bombs to destroy the city. Knuckles wants you to get rid of all these little bombs in the city to prevent the city from being destroyed. Both of which are really dumb and really annoying for the reason that besides the fact you're fighting the controls all the way doing these, you have to figure out what they want you to do, and Knuckles doesn't like to explain stuff to you for some reason. And the other reason is that this level is so poorly designed. I mean, you skate around all over the place, run, shoot, do all this stupid shit, and then you end up back at the same place you just fucking were 2 minutes ago! This level you can actually accidentally backtrack. There is no excuse for such a stupid thing in a level. I cannot believe it! Shadow has several modes of attack in the game. You already know about the guns, which we'll go over in a second. But one thing I want to discuss is his melee attacks. He has a homing attack, obviously, but one of his things is that there's a melee move you can use to punch and kick your opponents. This is the most useless thing in the entire game. Well, no, not quite as useless as the vehicles, which are far, far worse. But the melee attack, there's just no point in using it when you already have the homing attack. I mean, if they made it decent and deliver a lot of damage, yeah, it'd be useful. But the problem is that it delivers almost no damage, and there's no reason you would ever use it unless you're bored out of your mind. There's also vehicles in the game, most of which serve only to waste your time. There is no reason for these. They control like shit. Their only use is to avoid taking damage while you run into everything. And I mean everything, because controlling these vehicles is just so fucking horrible. There's no point. There's only a couple vehicles that serve any use. This walker is one of them, as it allows you to jump ridiculously high. And that does add to the platforming aspect of the level. So this is an interesting part, but everything else is pretty much useless except the birds, which are, again, another interesting part of the gameplay, I guess. But regardless, the majority of the vehicles, the standard cars you run into and the motorcycles, are completely pointless. The game did do one thing in terms of the combat by allowing you to use Shadow's Chaos powers at certain times. There's 2 Chaos powers you can use. Chaos Blast and Chaos Control. And I do like this, but there's a few problems with both. First of all, Chaos Blast is ridiculously overpowered. You'll be able to use it multiple times. Now, looking at it, you'd think this would be a tactic that would only be used once. But I used it 4 times in this part. It's ridiculous. There's no reason that you should be able to use that attack more than once. It makes the game too easy. Chaos Control is a different story entirely. Again, it makes the game too easy by letting you bypass everything. But this is also a problem in terms of certain missions. Because some missions require you to, like I said before, kill every single enemy. And Chaos Control goes past those enemies, meaning you are required to backtrack, to go back and finish off those enemies you missed because you used Chaos Control. This is annoying as hell. And another thing, Chaos Control has a glitch where if it stops over a pit sometimes, it won't go all the way over that pit and you'll fall to your death. Now, granted, usually the game is coded so that Chaos Control will keep going until you're past the you're past the pit. But there is a glitch that will occur where you fall directly into the fucking pit. Now, one last thing to talk about during the combat: the weapons. One thing this game was built around was the fact that Shadow would be using weaponry, and depending on who you were, this was a good or bad thing. I had mixed feelings on it, and now looking back, I thought it was a stupid idea. But I dealt with it, and I can still deal with it even now. This isn't too big an issue in my opinion, as the weapons are actually surprisingly well done. Now, some of them look ridiculously large, but some of them are supposed to be that big. And there is a wide variety of weapons you can use. Besides the human weapons consist of regular pistols, to many different types of machine guns, different types of rocket launchers, some lock on, some not. And the alien weapons consist of mainly laser guns, and some melee weapons, which surprised me. There's a sword, and there's secret weapons to unlock. So Sega did take some time with this in terms of the weapons, but there's a few issues I have with the weapons too. For example, the machine guns. There's really no difference in terms of which machine gun you use. They all pretty much do the same thing. There's no noticeable difference in damage. Now, I prefer some over others, but that's usually just for how they look and not for how much damage they do. Because, like I said, there's virtually none. And the rocket launchers, I never use for the simple reason that they don't do nearly enough damage for being rocket launchers. And the ones that aren't locked on are so hard to aim, because with the machine guns, Shadow will aim it automatically. But the rocket launchers, you have to aim manually, and like I said, aiming it manually isn't worth the amount of damage you're going to get out of it, because by the time you finally aim and fire, you would have killed the enemy already using a standard machine gun. And the alien weapons are pretty much the same as the human weapons, only they fire lasers, and there's really no difference in terms of the weapons besides how they look. Once again, I must reiterate. Some weapons are better than others, like the lock-on rocket launchers are really useful. I do like those. And overall, I will give the game credit in terms of how they did the weapons, but this is a Sonic game. Why are there weapons? It's not necessary. But like I said, compared to how the game operates, the weapons are a very minimal problem with the game. The in-game cutscenes in this game are really, really poorly done. Besides the fact they're running in-game engines, so they don't look good at all. Like I said, the character models are shiny for no specific reason. Some of the character movements and some of the lip syncing, just about everything else about them, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't play out very well at all. And this cutscene will lead us into another issue of the game, the boss fights. Besides the fact that they are way too few in number, the boss fights are really aggravating in the sense that they're way too easy.
Bring it on!
Way too easy. Most of them are, anyway. There's very few that are hard at all. This one is just so pathetic. Because what you actually have to do is, there's a very simple way to beat him. Go around and kill all his little minions. Do that until your Chaos Control bar is up. Then, use Chaos Control. It works differently in boss mode. It'll slow down time around you so Shadow's running faster than everyone else, and just unload on his face, and he dies! That took like 2 seconds! And some boss fights are just annoying.
You know what they say, the more the merrier.
Stop saying that!
The more the merrier.
So I've gone over almost every issue I have with this game, with the exception of one. And that issue is this.
Hey, Shadow.
Hey, Shadow.
Hey, Shadow.
Hey, Shadow.
Well, if it isn't Shadow.
Think we can make it down there?
Oh, it's the Shadow the Hedgehog is the first Sonic game to be dubbed by 4Kids, and it shows because at this time the 4Kids voice actors had no time to improve, and they just sucked out loud. Their voices consisted from the brutally annoying
Woohoo! Now we're talking. Bring it on.
to the just plain wrong on so many levels
Have you tried going up?
to the really, really weird.
Find the computer room.
I cannot stand this. Like I said, at this time, 4Kids had just sucked out loud. And Shadow's voice, while his voice is actually pretty good, which I'm happy for, the problem I have with him is that he seems to swear for no reason at all.
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?
Why is swearing necessary in a Sonic game?
Damn, we've been detected.
Oh, FPL's doing it too! That's brilliant! Sonic is not a series that requires swearing. It doesn't need to be all hardcore and awesome. We got guns and swearing. We're totally awesome. This is so unnecessary! Ugh. And as for the voices, well, at least they're not all talking at the same time.
No! Back off, you slime balls!
Oh my god! You didn't do this!
What is that?
Shut up! God! I hate the 4Kids voices in this game. They have improved, but back then, everyone knows the 4Kids voice actors were just so brutal. And as for the rest of the game, it boils down, if you get all the endings, it boils down to an epic battle with Blackbeard. And I honestly had some fun at this point. Because, well, you got to use Chaos Spear, which I thought was pretty cool. They actually let you use this Chaos Spear, which they really should have done in Sonic Next Gen. And that I will give the game credit for. It's definitely not nearly as bad as Sonic Next Gen. There are fun parts of the game. It doesn't make up for everything else. There's so many issues I have with this game. And I have played this game and beaten it all the way through. I reserved it. I thought this was going to be good, but Sega screwed us over again. They really did. Well, that's all I really have to say about this one.
Goodbye forever, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Find the computer room. Find the computer room. Find the computer room. Find the computer room. Find the computer room.
Find the Chaos Emerald.
Find the computer room.